Hello, guys, and welcome back to the classroom. I wanted to review a trade that we took yesterday, March the 10th, I believe. Yeah, Thursday, March the 10th. It's kind of unusual in a sense, the way the indicator gave us, for instance, a buy signal, right, on a red candle. And we didn't see it, we didn't know it was, I didn't realize it was red because I have my SSL Hybrid bar colors on, but it is a buy signal on a red candle. When I turn my bar colors back on, I didn't look closely enough to notice that it wasn't. So I was like, oh yeah, we got a bearish engulfing, candle, and blah blah blah. But no, it did not. It's not really, because it's not engulfing like a buy bullish candle. It's just continuing, right? So what makes this interesting is that one of our part of our rules are to, like, for instance, we're supposed to have a confirmation indicator, right? Which is optional. Um, if we don't have one, we can use the C1. Okay, and if you listen to VP's videos, or podcasts, you hear him say this is where he's made most of his his money comes from the confirmation, because you may have, it may get you out, you may get out of the trade, but then you get a continuation. I mean, not confirmation, continuation, and then you get back in that trade, and that trade goes from there, right? So let's talk about the continuation entry. This is not a pullback. This trade did not go all the way back to the baseline. So it's not a pullback. It's nowhere near the baseline. So it qualifies as this type one. This one. So here the baseline has not crossed since. Correct. It didn't even make it back. C1 gives a signal. So for us, when you say C1 gives a signal, it means there's a selling candle. I mean, not selling candle. There's an arrow, right? We need to have an arrow that tells us to sell, right? And we don't have that. So we actually broke one of our rules, because it says C1 gives us a signal. Then you make sure the baseline agrees, which it should, since it hasn't crossed back. And then C2 agrees, right? And C2 definitely agrees in the sense where it's red. Now, if you guys know anything about what I say about whenever you start to see the signal line, then this is a sign of a weakening trend. So even though C2 gave us a signal, it's a sign of a weakening trend, number one. Number two, this is kind of unusual. Number three, this is these unusual times. Number four, there is a sell. There is not an arrow telling us to sell. Now, one saving grace is what I showed you earlier, a continuation indicator, right? And SSL Hybrid has the continuation indicator built in. It is these dots, right? So what happens is these dots will turn a different color when it's pulling back, or when price is going in the opposite direction, right? It's like almost to me a warning dot, right? And then it'll turn back white when price is continuing in the direction that it was going. So that's what we looked at. We used the white dot as a continuation indicator. So in keeping that, in the way we trade, hey, this is why we took this trade. But I do want you to consider the other things. That's the only reason why this trade is a good idea, personally, because there are other things at play that I'm not going to talk about in this video. But, this is, other than the fact that signal has gotten weaker, right? This signal has gotten weaker. And this didn't follow like the traditional path of pulling back and then coming down, right? And this arrow is on this candle instead of on this candle, because if it was on this candle, it would be better, in a sense where we have it's pulling back, and then we have it's coming in the opposite direction, and then we would have caught this trade, right? Because I tell them that if you're going to take a trade like that, when it's going opposite direction, it's the first candle is the indicator. So like after this candle pulled back, this candle showed that it was buying, and then this candle said we're selling again. We have sellers pushing down. It usually continues. You see what I'm saying? This one says we're buying. This one says we're selling, and it continued. It literally continued down. All right. This one says we're buying, and this is in a selling situation. So this one says we're buying, and then we have the first selling candle, and this one's engulfed this candle. Then it continues down. Do you see? You see what I'm saying? Now, if it's going up, that's different, right? So this one's saying it's selling, right? And this one's saying it's buying. And what did it do? It continued selling, buying. It continued. It had a pull, little, some activity, seller's activity, but it wouldn't hit the stop. It actually continued up. So that's something that you guys have to, use discretion about. It's a good chance that this is just coming back up here to touch this candle, because that's what it does. Every other candle must touch. If it doesn't touch, it's going to leave a gap. And maybe that's what's going on. Maybe it's just trying to fill the gap. Like from here to here is a gap. And then we go all the way across. Again, let me turn this off so you can see a little bit better. And I'm going to turn this off too. And you can see my gap. So then if you go all the way across here, from here to here, there's a gap. And the next candle, it kind of came up to fill that fair value gap. So actually the gap is just this small. Okay, so if price comes up here to try to fill this gap, which it has a good reason to, the market is now in balance and it needs to be back in balance. Then we're going to get knocked out of our trade and it's going to go up to fill a couple more gaps up here. Then it might turn around and it may keep going. We don't know. We got war, guys. And that's the thing. We actually started trading a very volatile time. It's super volatile right now. About 15, 16 days or 16 days of war. Super volatile. So it is what it is. But we're going to, let our trade play out. We're going to see until we get an exit signal. I don't even know what that would be, because I told you guys to enter trade. Now, here's the thing. If you feel like you're wrong, if you know you're wrong, don't hold a trade because you're right. You think you want to be right. If you have you feel like, okay, wait a minute, I chose the wrong direction to get out the trade. You don't even have to let it hit your stop loss. You definitely want, like I said, an exit indicator. This is an exit indicator. And then it turn around and continue. So it's a chance that this arrow may just show up. This arrow might just show up, on this candle, which will be Monday. Sometimes that happens, right? It may just show up on this candle, which will be Monday. I don't know. It is having a hard time really it's not like really moving really fast, or it's not a big candle. It's 10 o'clock already. We've got 2 hours left in this day. Actually, 6 hours left in this day, but 2 hours left in America, like towards lunchtime. Sorry. So yeah, it just depends on what you do. Now, if you are with a prop firm, one of the ones I recommend, you're not even allowed to trade a whole trades over the weekend. If you're in one of their type of accounts, right, then you'll have to close this trade at a loss, right, and then re-enter on Monday. That sucks, right? That's the only thing I don't understand. Like, why are you guys making people close their trade over the weekend and they may not, they may be at a loss? So that's another thing, risking trading on Thursday evening. And, it takes a few days for our trades to kind of like, sometimes it goes profit right away, but most of the time, a few days to really get going. And so consider that as well. We should have just waited until we got the error. That's all I wanted to say. I wanted to review this trade with you guys, and kind of give you the reason why I'm a little unsure about it. Just because we didn't follow our rules, but we did. Like, one of the rules is saying, that C1 gives a signal, right? And the other one is saying that we could use a continuation indicator, right? See, continue. And I think I did that. If we go back to it, I said, okay, guys, a continuation indicator is giving us the signal. And then it says still C1 agrees. And that's where we have that issue. It gives us the signal, but C1 doesn't agree. All right, guys, think about it. We will see the outcome. I will trade it. I'm going to let it do what it's going to do. And then I will definitely update you. We're going to update you in class anyway. We have our live trading class. We always go over our trades. So you'll get an update in class anyway. All right, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the classroom.